Okay, today Rob Peterson-Wakeman, our customer success team lead, will discuss what's included in understanding your maintenance fees and the journal entry import tool. You can type your questions into the question panel on the right side of your screen at any point throughout the session, and we'll leave some time at the end for Rob to answer those. Rob, I'll pass it over to you.
So we're going to break today's webinars up into two topics. As it's that time of year, again, your annual software and support maintenance fees are due, and Martin's been sending around the pro forma invoices for that. Of course, the natural question is, what is this for? I thought I'd take just a few minutes to describe what the annual maintenance and support fees are for and how it breaks down, what's included. So we're going to start with your annual maintenance invoice explained. So annual maintenance and support fees, maybe some customers aren't aware of this, but the total amount of what you pay to ProjectLine for annual maintenance and support essentially breaks down 50-50, and 50% of that fee goes directly back to SAP, and 50% goes to ProjectLine. Originally, when ProjectLine first started this business, SAP would set partners up so that they charge their end customers or offer their end customers what is essentially a software assurance plan. So what is software assurance? Software assurance is a plan that is usually put in place by software publishers like SAP, like Microsoft, or whatever, that allows for the continual development of the product, but also to fix bugs and support customers that are seeing software bugs on current versions of the product. So as far as SAP is concerned, a portion of that percentage that goes to SAP goes to paying for ongoing product development. So they have a number of teams worldwide that are focused on SAP Business One product development. There's one in Bratislava, there's one in China, and I think maybe one or two others kind of globally. And those teams are essentially focused on, adding new features to the product, evolving it, changing it, building that roadmap that you're probably familiar with if you participated in these webinars or any of the customer events. The other major thing that SAP offers as part of their maintenance piece is support for bugs in the software. So let's say a new version of SAP Business One is released, and for whatever reason it conflicts with something in Microsoft SQL Server or Microsoft Office 365. This is the way that it works in software. Things don't always work perfectly, so that support of bugs, the fixing of bugs, and the patching of the software, and this is of course the case with any software, whether it's Microsoft Office or anything, those patch level releases, that's included in your support and maintenance. So when you pay annual support, you're paying to fund those development programs, those support programs on the SAP side. When you pay annual maintenance, you're also paying a portion to ProjectLine. And what ProjectLine does with its portion is it runs a few services that we put under the umbrella of the customer success program. So one of the aspects of customer success is help desk services, and that help desk is there so that you can submit tickets, you can get help with issues, and it's primarily there to help enable you to, like let's say a ticket comes in and somebody asks a question, how do I do this in Business One? It's the job of the help desk to share with you those resources. So maybe they're pointing you to, an article on the SAP help portal. Maybe they're pointing you towards the SAP Learning Hub. They may also be pointing you towards many of the knowledge base articles that we write, and I'll highlight that as well. We also include sort of as part of the program our portion of bug support. So what does that mean? How is that different than what SAP is doing? Essentially, when you have a bug with the software and you report it to us, the coordination of all of that communication and the raising of the issue with SAP and our advocating on your behalf to get that fixed and get that updated, that's all handled by somebody at ProjectLine that needs to allocate their time, and that's covered in the program. So, again, let's say that there's an instance where there's a bug in a new release of the software. Always seems to happen with new point releases of software. 9.3 is the latest version. Version 10 is coming out. By the way, I'd probably advise most people who are watching this webinar to wait for a little later in 2020 to install version 10, because in our experience, the first few patches of a new version point release are the ones that would see the most bugs. And those bugs could be because something new was built and it conflicts with something else in the environment. Because your SAP solution is not just SAP, it's wrappered with a Microsoft server solution, or it interfaces with Office 365. Pretty complex environment. It's the same sort of scenarios that would lead to, say, just a computer crashing at home if the software isn't getting along very well. So that handling of those cases of that bug support, that's all covered with your maintenance. The other thing that the help desk does beyond just the enablement piece and the bug support piece is that if you're seeing a problem with your SAP system, let's say there's a performance issue, things are running slower than what you expect or anticipate, we have a troubleshooting protocol, a guideline, a sort of an observational protocol where we take and work through with you to reproduce the issue, to capture data, and all of those activities are being paid for through the annual support and maintenance program. So our job is to support you through those things. Now, the output of those engagements may result in chargeable work. The program doesn't pay for absolutely everything. You might ask us to help you with something that is essentially new functionality, or to resolve something in your infrastructure that is traditionally your responsibility or the role of your third-party IT provider. And we may do that. But the support desk folks, and a lot of you are likely familiar right now. That's Raphael De Bueno and Crystal Wen. They're both there to kind of tell you when things might become chargeable. So we do that. Other value-added content. So, like I say, the webinar that you're getting today on journal entry import, and even this bit of information, knowledge-based articles. These are all included in annual maintenance and support. So the piece of my activities that enable me to do this, or whenever Crystal writes a knowledge-based article, that's paid for through the support program. So we do try to write knowledge-based articles that help the majority of customers. And on our loose guideline for things like that is if we've heard something 3 or more times, that's typically what prompts us to write a knowledge-based article. And not everything is covered in training manuals. Sometimes, our knowledge-based articles are very geared towards bringing all of those resources together in a way that you can consume them, or writing what's essentially amounts to a white paper or a best practices guides that help give you more direction on what you should do in this use case or in this scenario, or maybe it's related to you resourcing a new server to run SAP, those types of things. The last thing that is included in the ProjectLine portion of the maintenance is strategic account management. So each account would be assigned an account manager. Sometimes the account manager is simply the customer success team itself. But what this activity is all about is your ability to come to us and say, listen, Rob, we'd like to talk to you about the changes in our business and how the system is supporting that, and maybe we'd like to leverage more of SAP. Excuse me. Those strategic discussions are included as, pardon me, they're included as part of the program. All right, so, not to be confused with consulting, which is the doing of things on your system on your behalf. Okay, one of the things that I think it's important to highlight is paying maintenance gets you access to new versions. If you ask ProjectLine to do your upgrades, that's chargeable. So the program isn't paying for the actual effort required to do your upgrades. Now, there's one major exception to this, and that exception is if you're encountering a bug in, let's say a version of, excuse me, 9.2 or 9.3, and that bug is fixed in a successive patch level upgrade, and you're experiencing problems with that particular bug, with that particular function, we'll do the patch level upgrade for you. And that's included in the program. So that's part of our commitment to you in, making sure that we help you effectively deal with bugs. However, moving from version 9.3 to version 10 is an elective move, and that means that the upgrade effort, and we do have some customers that do their own upgrades. It's certainly something that requires best practice and training and knowledge. But if you do want to take that on yourself, those are things that customers are entitled to do. You're entitled to download versions of the SAP software directly from the SAP website. You're entitled to request license keys. This is often things that we do on your behalf as part of, a new license order or an upgrade process. But this is something that the customers are able to do on their own. So that upgrade, say, from version 9.3 to version 10, you get access to the upgrade. You can go to SAP's website to download the new version. But if you want help with the effort to actually do the upgrade, that's typically something that's chargeable. So important distinction there. All right, so this page, I just wanted to shift over to, I showed you kind of in point form where your maintenance dollars go. But for any of you that don't have this brochure on what our customer success program is meant to deliver and meant to do, please feel free to go to our website. I believe we're looking to put this up on a knowledge base page. Maybe we'll share that with everybody in next month's newsletter. But what I've just said about what the program includes and what it doesn't include is detailed here. So help desk services, events and resources, ongoing system upgrades and health of the system. These are things that are included in the program. However, if you ask the support desk to do something in your system, like take the example of, I'd like you to help me enter a sales order into the system. That's something where we'll help you as much as we can to enable you on how to do that, but actually doing that is your responsibility. Okay. So the brochure also outlines our help desk hours. The help desk part of this plan runs Monday to Friday, and you can see the effective times here. And just so that everybody is aware, we have response time objectives that sort of outline how quickly we will respond to an inquiry. So we depend on you to indicate how urgent a matter is, and you can see that our response time, not our resolution to the problem, but our initial response to you during these help desk hours is 1 hour for urgent, 2 hours for high priority, 4 hours for medium, and 8 hours for low. Medium could be normal. The majority of tickets would be regarded as medium or normal priority. And please let us know if something's impacting your operations. The support email, so anyone can submit a ticket from a company that emails support@projectline.ca, and when you do, you get an auto acknowledgement of that submission, and there's also instructions in the email about how to escalate the ticket if it's urgent. Okay. So now we'll take a look at the knowledge base portion of the help desk. So how do you find the ProjectLine knowledge base? Now, you can submit a ticket to the help desk by simply emailing support@projectline.ca, but you can also submit a ticket through our ticketing and knowledge base portal if you'd like. To find that portal, go to projectline.ca, click on support, and then you're there. And what you're initially faced with here is essentially the knowledge base. There's a little bit of additional information on support hours. Of course, you can just click this link and then you're automatically submitting a ticket via email to the help desk. Our help desk articles are laid out. Sorry, I'll just cancel that support ticket because I don't actually need any help at this time, so I'll just X that out. All right, so within this knowledge base, we could search this. So if I'm interested in, an article that has to do with reconciliation, I'll start typing the words. It'll start giving me an auto suggest, and lo and behold, we have some knowledge base articles written on inventory to GL reconciliation. You're more than welcome as a customer to suggest what would make a good knowledge base article. Again, we're not looking at recreating things that are already in a manual. We're looking at writing an article that's useful to you, that provides more context around doing something. You'll also notice that in the training section, there's a number of how-tos on, how customers access the SAP Learning Hub. So if you were to go through there, you can find access. There's also an SAP Business One help portal, a YouTube channel. So we post the webinar content here to the knowledge base, and we also write articles as well. I'll just highlight another article here in the knowledge base that we wrote, just to give you an example of the types of things that we'd like to include in our knowledge base. So, for instance, if a company is sourcing an on-premise server for the SQL version of Business One, here we have a knowledge base article which details exactly how that's done, and this is something that can be handed to a third-party IT provider, for instance. Some of our articles even have attachments here, and if you click on them, usually they're in downloadable PDF. Okay, so just to give you an example of what that support and maintenance fee is providing to you. Yeah, and this is something that I've already stated. Of course, the SAP Learning Hub and the ProjectLine knowledge base are included in the customer success program. Maybe really quickly, just for any of you who aren't aware of the Learning Hub, because I truly believe that this is mandatory for anyone using the system. You should be accessing the Learning Hub, going through the training, and even going back to it if you find your skills are rusty. Crystal's wrote an article which explains how to access the Learning Hub, how to register, how to log in. She's included screenshots, so it's it's a step-by-step guide. And basically what she is attempting to do with this article is to show you exactly how to get to where you need, because sometimes that's a challenge. Particularly with the SAP site. There's so many resources on SAP's site. Not all of them have to do with Business One. And, so it can sometimes be a little bit difficult to find what you're looking for. Also, the access that I would have to SAP's site as a partner is slightly different than what a customer sees. So, we like to write these articles from the customer's perspective so that you can guide yourself through. So what I'm doing now is I'm accessing the learning journey. Here we've got the learning journey for SAP Business One 9.3. If you're on a previous version, it's likely that this learning journey is applicable. There may be slight differences in the functionality depending on what version you are, but usually the latest and greatest is the learning journey to do. And you can see once we get into the learning journey here, we've got an overview of SAP Business One, and then it's sort of breaking it down either module by module or role based. So if you're a user that's dealing with any of those specific areas, you should be going through the e-learning for that area. So let's say, for instance, you are somebody who works in the production MRP area. I click into that module, and then there's a further breakdown of the training bits that are included in that module. So just wait for it to load, and you can see they cover overview, the resources menu item, the bill of materials, production order, accounting. It gets into MRP. If we drill into MRP, there's further explanation. I know a lot of times customers will say, well, I just want to know the answer, Rob. And certainly on the help desk, we're there to help provide just the answer. And there are other resources like the Business One book and the Business One help portal that can sometimes just give you the answer. But I would sort of modestly suggest that doing the Learning Hub is the proper way to really master your system. So if you haven't done this training before, you really ought to consider it. Okay, you can notice that in the learning journey, there's also talk about how to implement the system, how to customize the system. So it's more than just user role-based specific training. So there you go. It's a really powerful resource if used thoroughly and effectively. And it certainly does take time, but the better that you are enabled, the more power you have over your system.